Graffiti writers have to face multiple fears every time we go and hit up. And possibly the most common fear that we all share is the fear of getting busted. Thankfully, anytime I personally ever got caught in the act of writing, I was able to get away. But unlike the majority of my videos, today's video is not about me. And instead, this is a story coming from the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it's about a writer named Mango. And Mango finds himself currently in a legal predicament, and he's facing numerous charges related to graffiti. But the circumstances related to Mango's arrest led to some unforeseen consequences for members of his family. And Mango's current legal situation can tell us a lot about how the cops deal with you and deal with writers in general when you get busted. So let's get into it. But before going any further with this story, I feel like something needs to be stated. And that is, I have absolutely no connection to the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've never been there before. I don't have any family there, and I don't know a damn thing about it. Similarly, I don't have any connection to Mango. Mango has not hit me up personally, has not asked me to speak on this, and I don't know anything about him as a person. That really just leaves me with the facts of the situation, and I'm gonna rely on these facts and analyze them. And to best understand this series of facts, let's start from the beginning. On November 7, 2025, a civilian was riding along Highway 51 in Tulsa when he saw somebody hitting up. This person was hitting up in plain view on a wall on the freeway, and this civilian reached for their phone. And upon checking out this rider further, the civilian realized this was the rider Mango. And the civilian recognized this name instantly because Mango had tagged up his business sometime prior. The civilian called the cops and let them know that Mango was out there on the side of the freeway doing his thing. They showed up not too long after. Mango got caught in the act of hitting up and he tried to run. The cops pursued him and they sent a helicopter that was already in the sky after him. He was tracked down and he was arrested. Mango got hit with some vandalism charges, but he was able to bond out. Not too long afterwards, he was back on the streets. And in my opinion, this is where it gets very interesting when looking at Mango's story and how it proceeds. Like many big cities in the United States, Tulsa's police department has multiple divisions. And after Mango's arrest, the street crimes unit of the Riverside Division opened an investigation on him. And for almost the next month, this unit sent detectives out into the streets, but especially to downtown Tulsa, to find any Mango tag they could track down. And as a side note, this kind of an assignment for cops, especially detectives, investigators, is a pretty sweet one. First and foremost, you have to understand that these cops are gonna accumulate a lot of overtime. That time and a half and that double time is really gonna stack up on something like this. But this kind of investigation also allows cops to do cop stuff. It allows investigators to go out and investigate, but not deal with cadavers, not deal with people taking shots at them, or trying to end their lives. All they had to do in this case was go downtown and look for Graff. And in going downtown and especially checking out the freeway exchanges all around the IDL, they were able to find over 100 tags done by Mango. As far as the cost of this investigation, it's not known. I don't know how many detectives were assigned to this. I don't know how many other resources got pulled in, how many patrol resources or other elements in the department got pulled in to surveil Mango and check out his work. But I would have to guess, with all those other factors, especially the overtime factored in, this was not cheap. And to be honest with you guys, I don't know if it was justified either. And I wonder if it's justified from just taking a casual glance at the crime statistics of the city. And this very casual glance let me know that Tulsa has higher property crime and violent crime than most other cities in the country. But what I will say is the violent crime stats, the overall crime stats in a city, are kind of irrelevant when it comes to how the cops treat riders. And if the stats are low, for sure, the cops are gonna screw with riders in a place like that. But if the stats are high, you can almost guarantee that the cops are gonna screw with riders more. And this is especially the case if the general public is not a fan of Graff. And in most cities in America, and probably most cities on earth, the general public despises us and what we do. And in just taking a casual look online of people talking about Tulsa, people that live in the city, talking about graffiti especially, I've come to find that folks aren't a big fan. And especially in the last couple of months, I've seen people specifically complaining that there's a lot more Graff, that there's a lot more areas like the freeway that are tagged up. Freeway signs are tagged up especially. It pisses a lot of people off. And I saw a local news video from a couple of months ago talking about this in particular, about the explosion of Graff in Tulsa and how the city was coming up with solutions to tackle it. And in this news story from Tulsa about Graff, Mango is running multiple times. And very unfortunately and very ironically, the newscaster at the start of this video says it's very hard to catch Graff riders in the act, like Mango was caught. But as I said earlier on in this video, Mango was not the only person to suffer repercussions from his arrest. And about a month later, on December 3rd, Mango was being surveilled by the police. They saw his father. After they saw Mango's dad, they stepped to him and started asking him some questions. And during the course of this conversation, a gram scale fell out of his pants. This gave the police probable cause to search his father. And during their search, they found a little bit of crystal and they found a pistol. Mango's father is a convicted felon, and finding him in possession of a controlled substance is serious. But a felon being in possession of a firearm is an incredibly serious charge that can get a person locked up for multiple years. Not long afterwards, Mango's house itself was raided. And in Mango's house, they found a bunch of spray paint and they found some artwork, and in their mind, this further connected him to their investigation. And after getting arrested again, Mango was hit with multiple charges related to this police investigation. And they're saying just Mango alone in Tulsa caused about $100,000 worth of damage. And in my mind, there's multiple things to inspect and analyze about this situation. But maybe the first thing a lot of people would analyze is the behavior of Mango himself. And in our own parlance, we can say Mango was out in those streets in Tulsa acting hella hot. And I've talked about this type of behavior before, especially in kids, but it does manifest itself in adults as well, where people are going out and doing the hottest stuff possible. And some people might say this isn't so understandable because Mango's recklessness, him being hot, got his dad locked up. And I say that with absolutely no disrespect to Mango, and I don't personally look at it that way. But on the flip side, similarly, with no disrespect intended to Mango's father, I can tell you, having an addict in the house, having somebody abuse substances in your house makes you want to leave it. But putting public opinion aside and putting Mango's own behavior aside, to me, the most interesting facet of this story is the police response. Back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, I knew a couple of riders personally that ended up being investigated. Especially in the 2000s, this was a time when the cops in the city were really cracking down on Graff. And it seemed like usually what would happen was the cops would take particular interest in a rider and they would see them up and just start documenting stuff as they went along. And after the cops caught up with this person, if they caught him out on the streets, if they caught him in the act, or they raided their house, all those charges were gonna catch up with them too. Other times, they had everything they needed already. People were already complaining. The cops didn't have to do any kind of legwork. Everything was already out there. And all that they needed was the physical presence of this rider to arrest them and charge them. But personally, I've never heard of the police arresting somebody and then going back and finding all their own tags, documenting everything, and then bringing forth some new charges from this old work. But on the part of the police, it makes perfect sense. And maybe there's a chance that it was always like this in other places, but I never saw it play out like that in San Francisco. And that might have been that there was just simply too much Graff, so much stuff was going up and getting buffed right after, and it would have been really hard for the cops to keep track of it all. But in the case of Mango, what Mango had already done was as relevant as what he got caught doing. But I also have to add that there's an element to this story that's not included, but if you get caught up, might be included. And that is the wrong police officer seeing your work. And by wrong, I'm specifically talking about somebody that's in leadership, is very ambitious and career driven. And they understand that with the right case, with the right amount of publicity, they can get all the higher ups on their side. The higher ups are gonna see that they're very capable, that they're able to allocate resources and get results. And they're gonna use you to further their career. And you don't even have to do anything all that grand. They could just see you in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it could be something as simple as a little hand style that's done on the side of a fire hydrant or on a sign. But especially when it comes to some of these more noticeable forms of Graff, like blockbusters or big fire extinguisher tags, just one of those might be enough for this cop to be on your case. And in terms of talking about the cops, you guys gotta understand that cops are human beings just like everybody else. And most human beings do not wanna be at work, and they're not gonna work any harder than they have to when they're at work, and that includes cops too. And the cops are only gonna open an investigation and go out into the streets, scour them for a month looking for Graff when somebody sees a benefit in doing so. And if a city is perceived as having a graffiti problem, the leadership in that city might be the people that drive this. And they're gonna find this career-minded, very ambitious cop. They're gonna put him to work. And even if you feel like you've already hit up and you've gotten away and you're sleeping well at night, everything that you're doing is furthering this end. And you stand a chance of all of it being used against you all at once, just like it is now for Mango.